It is time once again to complete an NHL Draft Lottery Simulator. We're doing this about once a month where we take a look at the current NHL standings and simulate the draft lottery as of today. We are then going to complete a mock draft for the top 15 selections. And that's coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're doing an NHL Draft Lottery Simulation and mock draft for the first part of the first round in the upcoming 2022 NHL Draft. So we're going to hop onto the computer. We're going to go onto the website called Tankathon.com, which has a simulation tool on there. We'll go over the teams that are going to be in the lottery quickly, look at their percentage chance of win, and then, of course, we will then complete the simulation and see who is going to be picking in the top couple of spots. So the top two spots are up for grabs. You can only move up a maximum of 10 spots. So certainly teams that are going to be ranked, 13, 14, 15, they can still move up significantly, but they won't be able to get all the way to number one if they are the team that is selected as the winner in the draft lottery simulation. So, of course, as I mentioned, we've been doing these about once a month or so as the prospect rankings change and as the season carries on. So we're due for another updated version of this process. And at the same time, we're going to expand this. We've been only doing a top 10 mock draft up till now. Now we're going to expand it to get out to the top 16 picks here. So we get basically all the teams that are in the draft lottery. We'll determine the order and who we feel based on that order they would be likely to select based on where everything is at. So let's hop on the computer, we'll do the simulation, and follow up by the mock draft. All right, so as you can see, we're now on the computer on Tankathon.com on the NHL Draft Lottery Simulation page, which I'll link down in the pinned comment as well as the description below if you haven't already been familiar or want to play around with this site. So first up, let's take a look at the 16 teams currently in the draft lottery that's based on the standings as of today, April the 11th. So, of course, right now, the team with the best odds is the Arizona Coyotes, followed by the Montreal Canadiens, the Seattle Kraken, the New Jersey Devils, Philadelphia Flyers, Ottawa Senators, Columbus via Chicago. Of course, they have their first-round pick from the Seth Jones trade, and it is only protected by, I believe it's top two. So unless it gets way up there, it's going to Columbus. They're going to get themselves a good pick here. We also have Buffalo, Detroit, San Jose, Anaheim, Columbus, the New York Islanders, Winnipeg Jets, Vancouver Canucks, and again, the Buffalo Sabres via Vegas from the Jack Eichel trade. So that means obviously we have a couple of teams here with multiple first round picks in the lottery. So Buffalo and Chicago each have two selections. Now, before we actually simulate this, let's just take a quick look here at the odds just so everybody's aware of how everything works. So these are the draft lottery odds. So the Arizona Coyotes, even though they're in last place and have the best odds at winning first overall, they still only have a 25.7% chance of getting that. And then, of course, they have an 18.7% chance at second place and a 55.6% chance at third, which means there's a greater likelihood that they won't win as compared if they do win. So that means that two teams could surpass them via the lottery winning and knock them down as far as third place. So they wouldn't be able to go any lower than that. And if you look, even Montreal with the second best chance, still only 12.1, 13.6, and 32.2, and then 42.2. So it really goes against you quite a bit here. As you can see, we only go down as far as Anaheim with a 3.1% chance of winning first overall. That's because of the limit on how many spots you can jump. As I mentioned before, you can only go up 10 spots. So those are the only teams, Arizona down to Anaheim, are the only ones that can move all the way to number one. The Columbus pick, the Islanders, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Vegas picks will not be able to go to first. They can move up 10 spots, though, and be a significant improvement over where they sit right here today. So those are the odds. Those are the teams. Let's jump in and simulate the draft to see where the order is, and then we'll do the top 16 selections. So here we go. And there we have it. The Habs win the draft lottery. The Ottawa Senators win the number 2 spot. So a couple of Canadian teams with some good luck. That means Arizona, Seattle, New Jersey, Philly, etc. all move down one spot here. So there's your order. So we got Montreal, Ottawa, Arizona, Seattle, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Columbus by way of Chicago, Buffalo, Detroit, San Jose, Anaheim, Columbus, the Islanders, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and then the Sabres again by way of Vegas. So those are your top 16 selections in order. Now let's jump over here and complete the draft 1 through 16. Selecting first overall, we have the Montreal Canadiens, and there is no doubt they will be selecting Shane Wright from the OHL's Kingston Frontenacs. Shane Wright is the undisputed #1 overall pick here, in my opinion. I know there were some doubters early on in the first half of the season saying he didn't look like an elite #1 pick overall, and maybe he won't be as elite as some other former #1 overall picks, but he is a really, really solid two-way center with a lot of offensive upside. Maybe he's more like a Patrice Bergeron type. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Bergeron is, but you know what? If he's even close to that, that'll be a huge find for the Habs. They can really add him as maybe a #2 center behind Nick Suzuki for many years to come and really solidify them at the center position. Selecting second overall, we have the Ottawa Senators, and they will select the top defenseman in the draft, Simon Nemec. Now, Nemec to me is a real solid right-shot defenseman, real good at both ends of the ice. The Ottawa Senators have a lot of offensive young players right now. They have a pretty solidified, for the most part, top 6. It might be missing one piece there, but I think they're going to address that via trade or free agency this offseason. The back end is clearly the weak end for the Senators. They have some studs coming like a Jake Sanderson. They have some interesting prospects like a Lassie Thompson or a JBD. But to me, Nemec is a little bit more of a sure thing. And it would be a real solid complementary piece on the right side who has potential to be a top pair defenseman, potential partner for Savoie down the road. Selecting third overall, we have the Arizona Coyotes. And I have no doubt at this point they would select Juraj Slafkovsky, of course, a Slovakian winger who can play all 3-4 positions, get lots of size, 6'4", 218 pounds, known for being having a real solid scoring touch, can score the difficult goals, get a real good shot in a variety of different types of ways he can put the puck in the net. So for me, the Coyotes are rebuilding. They don't need to rush this guy. They can let him take his time if he needs another season in Europe or if he wants to play in the American Hockey League. They don't need to rush him. They're rebuilding. I think he probably could benefit from another year of seasoning before making a full-time jump to the NHL. So regardless of what road they take, to me, it's a piece of the puzzle that they do not have. Big, strong, scoring winger would be just fine in Arizona. Picking next at fourth overall is the Seattle Kraken in their second NHL draft, and I have them taking American-born center iceman Logan Cooley. Now, like their first pick last year, Matty Beniers, Logan Cooley's also already committed to going the route of U.S. college hockey. He will be playing for the University of Minnesota, but he's an extremely talented center iceman. He's not overly huge. He's a 5'10", about 180 pounds, but still, as we've seen in some cases, the size doesn't always matter. But this past year, at the junior level, he's played in 24 games in the USHL, put up 36 points, also played in 43 games for the U.S. National Under-18 team, and put up 63 points. He's going to have a real solid college season, I think. I mean, he's primed to be a real solid offensive talent. At least 1 year, maybe 2, I guess we'll see, of college hockey will be a huge benefit for him before jumping into the Seattle lineup, and will make a good pair with Matty Beniers down the middle for years to come. Fifth overall, we have the New Jersey Devils, and I have them taking defenseman David Jiricek. Now, at this point in the draft, I think the Devils really need to focus on what they need, and that's a real solid defender. He would arguably be one of the top players available to spot in the draft regardless, but he's a right-shot defenseman from the Czech Republic. He's a good size, 6'3", 190 pounds. He's a very mobile defender. Has a bomb of a shot, plays a physical brand of hockey. To me, he's going to be a pretty overall solid D-man. He could be a top pair, but I think it's a solid, safe bet is at a decent top pair, or top four, right shot D who can help you at both ends of the ice. New Jersey has a lot of interesting young forwards. Their D-core is, they have a couple of guys there that can certainly contribute, but having another solid right shot guy who can play behind Dougie Hamilton would be an absolutely huge help to taking this team forward. Selecting sixth overall, we have the Philadelphia Flyers, and I have them taking a top center iceman, or one of the top centers of the draft here, Matthew Savoie, from the WHL's Winnipeg Ice. Now, he's not overly huge, but 5'10", 181 pounds, certainly has a ton of upside on the offensive capabilities here. Now, certainly, this past year, it's been a real solid season for him in Winnipeg. 87 points in 63 games at the WHL. Obviously, Savoie, like I said, he's a little bit undersized, but he makes up for that with his smarts, his skill, and the ability to put the puck in the net. So to me, I don't see the Flyers being afraid of this. I kind of, somewhat reminds me of maybe of a little bit of a Daniel Briere, of course, who was with the Flyers in a management capacity now, and of course was a long-time Flyer player. A little bit smaller, but certainly get the job done. Selecting number 7 overall, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets by way of Chicago, and I have them selecting Finnish winger Joakim Kemell. Now, of course, his stock, I think it's fair to say, has dropped off a little bit. There were times earlier in the year when he was tracking to be probably a top 3, maybe top 2, 3, 4 player in this draft. I still think he's going to be a decent NHL player. I think the odds of him, on a scale of 1 to 10, the odds of him being an NHL regular, I think I'd give it like a 9. But he's a right shot, good skating winger with a great shot, plays a very energetic physical game, and projects to be a top 6 winger, which is certainly something here that the Blue Jackets can benefit from and certainly need. Of course, they have some other players to mix in well, I think, that will play well with Kemell. And of course, having a Finnish GM, I'm sure that would help with the connection here to North America, getting him acclimated to the system. Selecting 8th overall, we have the Buffalo Sabres, and I have them taking U.S.-born center iceman Frank Nazar. Now, Nazar's a little bit on the smaller side, not huge, 5'10", 175. Like I said, he's a center iceman. I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up being a winger at the NHL level, because he's a very versatile forward. He's got great speed, but he generates a lot of his offense off the rush and has a quick release. So to me, if he had to move to the wing at the NHL level, I don't see that being an issue. I think he would probably thrive a little bit more, but you never know. He could still possibly end up being a center. I don't think it's a given that he won't be. Of course, like some of his other U.S. national teammates, he will be going into the U.S. college hockey scene, playing for the University of Michigan, which is a great program. They had a stacked team this past year. Unfortunately, fell short at the Frozen Four, just a little short of a national championship. Several of their top players have signed NHL contracts, so that should give Nazar an opportunity to play a solid role and get a big opportunity, and then be primed to join the Sabres in 1 to 2 years down the road. Selecting 8th overall, we have the Detroit Red Wings, and I have them selecting Swedish forward Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Now, to me, this pick just screams Yzerman and Detroit. We know they've had a lot of great success in the past with their Swedish players, and this should only continue if they get an opportunity to draft this guy. Of course, he's a right shot, right winger, 5'11", 172. He's a pure goal scorer who's known to be able to create his own opportunities, has an array of deadly shots in his arsenal, which is certainly screaming top 6 role at the NHL level, ability to score goals. But like I said, he reads the game well, plays at a high pace, is known as a really smart player, and to me, this could be one of those sneaky good, real solid Yzerman draft picks here, a little bit later into the first round of the draft. Next up, selecting 10th overall, we have the San Jose Sharks, and I have them selecting a big center iceman, Connor Geekie of the Western Hockey League's Winnipeg Ice. Now, of course, Geekie to me is a good-sized center iceman, which should attract the Sharks to wanting to select him. He's 6'4", 205 pounds. He's had a real solid offensive season in Winnipeg, putting up 68 points in 61 games. If you look at the Sharks' depth here, of course, they're a bit of an older team. Down the middle, they have a couple of solid guys that are veterans, like Logan Couture, Thomas Hertl. Of course, Hertl has signed a long-term extension. Of course, Couture is there, but you know what? They can also both play wing. So as they get later into their careers, that might be a move that we see, as a guy like Geekie can come in, have those guys as a good mentor to learn the position at the NHL level, and then progress into kind of taking that spot, and perhaps they move to the wing near the end of their careers. Either way, I think the Sharks, who are a little bit not deep, in my opinion, at this position, have an opportunity to grab themselves a big center iceman, and they don't pass it up. Selecting at 11th overall, we have the Anaheim Ducks, and I have them taking a Russian prospect, Danila Yurov. Now, Yurov's a player who's probably going to have his draft stock fall a little bit, mainly because of where he's from. The Russian winger, don't be surprised, because of everything going on between Russia and Ukraine, some teams might shy away from him. I know there's some concerns about, in the future, will Russian players be able to get a work visa in Canada and the U.S.? Will there be further sanctions? Or, will there be additional things that happen here that prevent some of these players from coming over anytime soon? You just never know. So teams might be nervous because of that, but still, he's a versatile player. He plays all 3 forward positions, 6'1", 172. He's known as an intelligent two-way winger who competes hard, has a physical game, and does have the makings to be a solid top 6 or top 9 winger. So to me, I think he will likely make the jump and should be a pretty solid NHL forward, but I think the Ducks are a team here who can take the chance, given where they're entering full rebuild status now. They have a pretty deep prospect pool as well, so I think they're one of the few teams who can afford to kind of take the chance here with this pick. Selecting 12 overall, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I have them selecting forward Brad Lambert. Now, Brad Lambert's an interesting pick here. It's really difficult to say where he's actually going to go. Of course, depending on who you ask and where you look, he's ranked anywhere from 5th down to like 15th to 20th. He's an intriguing prospect. Played in Finland. He's got dual citizenship between Finland and Canada, but he grew up and played his hockey in Finland. He's changed teams a couple times this year. Hasn't had the absolute greatest season, but he was having a breakthrough time at the World Juniors. I think Brad Lambert's a terrific offensive player who's really smart and can really drive play. I don't know that he's ever going to be a top-line NHL forward. I mean, maybe he'll surprise us, but right now, to me, he looks like he might be more of a solid, middle six player who can play center or wing. I don't know what he'll end up being at the NHL level just yet, but certainly, I think that he will make the jump to North America and he will have success after a bit of a down year. At one point in time, Brad Lambert was kind of looked upon as being one of the ones that would be a threat to go first overall. Certainly that's not the case anymore, but to me, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Jackets to take a chance here with this selection. Selecting 13th overall, we have the New York Islanders, and I have them selecting American-born forward Jimmy Snuggerud. Now, to be honest, I kind of thought if Lambert's available when the Islanders pick, I wouldn't be shocked to see that be the selection for them. Unfortunately, in this mock draft, I have Lambert going right before their pick. But, of course, Lambert's uncle does work for the Islanders in the coaching capacity, so wouldn't be shocking to see it happen. But Snuggerud, to me, would be an excellent pick for the Islanders here as well. Like I said, he's an American-born player, shoots right, 6'2", 185. He's a real solid, powerful offensive player, has a really solid shot, in my opinion, has the potential to develop into a real solid goal scorer at the NHL level. I mean, like many players, there's still things to work on, but you do see the fundamentals are there. He will be making the jump to U.S. college hockey, like I said, like many of his teammates through the U.S. national team program. He's committed to playing next season at the University of Minnesota, so the Islanders would have to wait at least 1, maybe 2 years before making the jump, but to me, he could be well worth the wait. Selecting 14th overall, we have the Winnipeg Jets, and I have them selecting a top defenseman here in the draft, Denton Mateychuk. Now, Mateychuk is a player who's likely going to be, fairly high up here in the draft. He's obviously a defenseman for the WHL's Moose Jaw Warriors. WHL's had some good prospects this year, which will go in the top 20 for sure, but he's a mobile, two-way defender who's got a good ability to move the puck. Not somebody who's overly kind of flashy, not always going to grab your attention, but that's sometimes for a defenseman, that's what you want. Sometimes when they're not noticed and they're doing all the little things right, then that's exactly what you need back there, especially somebody who can be on the left side, be a smart, mobile, puck-moving defenseman who could project to be a top four. The Winnipeg Jets blue line has been a mess for a few years ever since they had that mass exodus. They've attempted to reform it and reshape it through trades, getting Nate Schmidt, Brendan Dillon. And it's still not the same. They need to work on getting some more solid deep prospects in the mix here. And to me, I think at this point in the draft, with what's available, it makes sense they go for a guy like Mateychuk who could be a real solid addition in the not-too-distant future. Selecting 15th overall, we have the Vancouver Canucks, and I have them selecting another U.S.-born player. There's a lot of these in this draft early in the first round, Cutter Gauthier. Gautier's had a real solid year this year. 28 points in 22 games for the United States national team in the junior league in the USHL. And, of course, on the U18 team, he put up 53 points in 46 games. He's committed to playing college hockey next year at Boston College, which will be good for his development. So he normally plays the left side, left winger, 6'2", 190 pounds, well-rounded forward, plays a strong game with the puck and away from the puck, has a really solid wrist shot, and right now is projected to be a top 9 goal-scoring winger at the NHL level. Obviously, the Canucks have some pretty decent forward depth right now. A lot of young players looking for more opportunity. They are expected to make a few trades this year, so it makes sense here. But at this point in the draft, no matter who they take, they're going to be waiting probably a year or two to have an impact. They might as well take Cutter Gauthier and wait for him to play his college hockey time before making the jump to the NHL. With the last selection in the draft lottery mock draft, we have the Buffalo Sabres at number 16 overall, and another American-born forward, Isaac Howard, will be their selection. Now, Isaac Howard, to me, I think has a solid upside. Currently, right now, he's 5'10", 174. Probably give him a shot of about 8 out of 10 and making the NHL and having an impact. Another player, like many of his teammates here, that are going to be going the U.S. college hockey route. This is the common plan and path for a majority of these U.S. players going through the national team program. He'll play at University of Minnesota Duluth next year. He's a gifted offensive winger with great puck skills and a really solid release. Needs to get stronger, though. Has some top 6 upside, but with a few things to work on, of course, being the caveat there. Obviously, he's not as much of a given as some of the players taken ahead of him, but with the right development and the right coaching, he very well could project to be a solid top 2 or top 3 line player at the NHL level. So those are my top 16 selections for all the non-playoff teams as of today. Of course, this could change, so we will complete this again once the NHL regular season is over. Once we get into the probably the first part of May, we'll do another lottery simulation because we'll know the full standings and where they're not going to be changing. We'll complete an update at mock draft, and then of course we may do another one before the actual draft as the players that we're talking about, their rankings could change as their seasons won't be over. They're going through playoffs, and of course they'll have other events going on through the summer that could impact their draft standing as well. So thank you very much for watching. Give me your comments down below and who you think needs to win this draft lottery the most. Who do you think is going to be the top prospects and where they're going to go? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments and we'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We will keep you up to date with all things NHL around the 2022 NHL draft as well as all the news and rumors around the entire league. Thank you for watching and I will catch you next time.